What we're going to do now is look at the Mediana HeartOnA16 defibrillator. This is a relatively new defibrillator, but what we're going to do is have a look at the basic features of it and how to set it up. To start with any new defib, you want to make sure you read the instructions. So the unit comes with the instructions, and you want to try and keep these instructions near the unit so anyone needs them, they're there. Now the units themselves, as with all AED units, are very simple to use, but this gives the main maintenance instructions and what each of the features do on the unit. So when you get the unit to start with, there's two key parts to it. There's the main AED unit itself and the battery. So first thing you need to do is remove, there's a security seal on the battery, so you need to take that off, otherwise when you put the battery in, it won't make contacts with the metal pins at the bottom. Just while we've got the battery off, in here also is an SD card slot. It's a micro SD card slot. That's for taking the data, so it's a very easy way of extracting data off of this unit. There's also an infrared port, but the SD slot is much easier because you can literally push that out and give that to emergency services when they come. So it's a very fast way of getting data off of this unit. So it's taking audio as well, so it's recording the sound of what's going on. It will give you a warning about that, and also the data of the unit. So to put the battery, just line up the clip, so slide it in one side and then put it in so it's firmly in. It'll just go through to start with, a couple of quick startups, a couple of audio noises, and then it will tell you when it's ready to be used.
Unit OK.
So now the unit's up and running. On the outside also, there's a little display along the side here that gives you warnings about the unit. So this is now telling you all the units okay, the battery's fine, everything's okay. If the pads were disconnected, that would indicate here, and also if it had outside its operating temperature range, it will display on here as well. So this is really your warning area. So if there's something wrong, it will show you on there. Just because you get a warning on the unit doesn't mean it won't work. If it can work, it will. If it's completely broken, then obviously it's not going to work. But if it is that the batteries are low or things like that, it will still work, it will still operate. If it's giving you a pad alarm, you literally just push the pads back in. Also, this little tab up here just shows you the expiry date of the pad. So it's very obvious by inspecting the unit from the outside when the pads are due for a replacement. To open it, just literally open it up, take that away, and then the first thing you come across are the pads themselves. So the pads are in a sealed wrapper. This is the little tab that showed we've got the expiry dates. And then on the pad here, it will tell you that this unit, these pads are ideal for adults and children. Simple tear notches on the side, and when you open it up, all of the cable will come out as well. So although the cable's very short here, that's just because it's in the box. If you do need to take the pads out and put new ones on, it simply just unplugs and plugs in. And if for any reason this became loose and you've got a pad warning, then all you need to do is just push that in place. Now with the pads, you do need to make sure that they're in firmly, so make sure it's in firmly, and also there's only one way of getting that plug in, so you won't ever get it around the wrong way. So that's the pads. The unit itself on the front has got different warning signs, and as with other AED units on the market, it's very simple instructions. We've got 1, 2, 3. So number 1 is turn the unit on, second is apply the pads, and the third will be deliver shock when told to. So looking down here to start with, a couple of little switches. This switch here moves it between adult mode and pediatric mode. So rather than having to have two separate sets of pads, with this unit you have one set of pads, but you just change it on here to adult and child. So it makes it a lot easier, and also it makes it cheaper because you're not having to buy two sets of pads, which then need to be replaced over the time. Over here is the speaker, which just tells you, that gives you the instructions. So to start with, we just turn it on. Once you turn it on, it goes through a self-test to start with. So it's checking that all the lights are working, and this is part of your routine
Unit
checks.
OK.
The first thing you're doing,
recording in progress.
so the first thing you're doing
Mode.
is just checking the data on here on a regular check.
Chest. Place pad exactly as shown in the picture.
So to start with, this is just going to keep on doing that. So I'm just going to turn it off for a second because it will just keep giving those warnings. But when you're doing a self-test or a weekly test on the unit, turn it on, make sure all of those lights come on to start with, make sure it's activating its audio and all the signals down here are okay. Again, check the pads haven't been damaged. So turn it on, then you would just follow the voice prompts. Because this is a new unit and it's got the pads attached to it and they're sealed, it's not going to detect that they're on the body, so it won't go through the final stages, but it will if you put an actual person. So pads on, check everything's all okay, make sure you've set it. It will tell you whether it's adult or pediatric mode, and then when it tells you to deliver a shock, you push the red button on the bottom, which will be flashing at the time. So basically the unit's very, very straightforward. So if we just turn it on, just go through that cycle, I'm going to show you how this button down here works. So to start with, turn it on, check the lights all come on,
Unit OK. Audio recording in progress. Adult mode. Remove clothes from the patient's chest. Place pad exactly as shown in the picture.
If you wanted to change
Press
to
pad
pediatric,
firmly. Pediatric mode.
it's literally a matter of pushing the button.
Clothes from adult mode.
So it's very, very simple to change
Remove
between
from
them.
the patient's chest.
Turn it off, you
Place
press
pad
and hold,
exactly as shown in the picture.
just till the lights go off, and it'll just beep to confirm it's off. So it's a very straightforward unit. To get it back ready to use, just apply the pads back in, just make sure that little tab is hanging out on the side. Then the cover will just slot in on this side and then clip it in place, and then the unit's all ready to go.